Yo, what is up? Welcome to DriveWire. This is the show where we show you the people, the ideas, the mentality to actually help you begin to live into your art. Find a way to get away from quote-unquote Starbucks, quote-unquote Tim's, quote-unquote the minimum wage mentality. Get you into your art and living in a way that actually allows you to play, to create, to be you. So a couple things. What is up, Crawford? My name is Carter. I am here with Crawford, the man.
Hello, the man. The man, the myth, the nine-figured legend, Crawford.
The man, the myth, the nine-fingered legend, Crawford. Living in London, Ontario. Happens to be where the Junos are coming up. Dude, you're living there. Are you seeing it? You've seen it? Like,
seen it.
It's starting to, like, visual. Like, it's manifesting.
Starting to shape.
What's happening? What's up?
Well, the biggest thing, obviously, right off the bat is they're setting up downtown. They have a big section of the downtown street on Dundas closed off. They're setting up the Juno stage. So that is going to be one of the stages where I believe it's like the Rec Laws and a few other bands are playing on the Friday night. So that would be exciting. It's a free show.
Nice.
For anybody who's downtown London at that time. But like I said, they also have a whole whack of different like house shows going on with different bars, different venues where they all have different like the local bands coming in. I shouldn't say all local bands, but there's a lot of London bands that are all playing different bunch of shows. Like I said, just bars and restaurants, music hall, rum runners. We got different bars. I couldn't even name it. Old E765 is another one.
Listing off all the bars he loves to go to. Love it, man.
Yeah.
Love it. So, what are you most excited for as far as like the bands coming in? I know that you named a couple coming in. What's cool about for me is like this is one of the best ways to go and actually find new music to find like where the hotspots are. Hit London if you can for the Canadian, not Canadian Music Week, rather the Canadian Junos.
Yeah, Canadian Music Award, right?
Get in there, shake some hands, meet our boys Dom and Fran from Sound Drive. They will be able to be there as well.
Absolutely.
Potentially bump into you, but that's a great way again for people to be networking is to go to these epicenters, go to the shows, go to the places and shake the hands because that's where, quite frankly, other music industry people are.
Yeah, that's where you meet the talents, where you meet the people that will help you make it big.
We're kicking this one off. We're absolutely ecstatic to have my man Matt Zaddy here. But first, we're going to get you into a little bit of music. Catch us when we're back.
Let's check it out.
Welcome back. What is up? This is DriveWire, and this is the part that I am most excited for. Today, we have a really cool cat. His name's Matt Zaddy, and he's been a musician for probably literally longer than I've been alive. I don't know. How long have you actually been? That's a good question. How long have you been?
Almost 20 years.
20 years. So almost as long as I've been alive, but not quite. But like,
you telling me I could be your dad? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. One of the things, so I've known Zaddy for quite a while. He's been around my circle of friends for, again, quite a while. And one of the things that I like about this guy the most is he hustles. He's always got a show coming up. He was just listing off to us 4, 5, 6 shows that he's going. He said his goal was to book 20. I think you said 20 shows in the last 2 weeks of March.
As soon as St. Patrick's Day is done, I'm going to book 20 shows.
And the hangover wears off, right?
Oh, I didn't say that.
Yeah. Fair value. So listen, one of the whole things that the show is about is showing people who believe in their art. They've gotten to the point where they actually have a specific amount of talent that's good. They have value to add. How do we get these people to actually begin supporting themselves on their art? Like, I understand that that's actually what you do. You have no other job. You are a musician. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
No, don't do this sir thing. Don't do this sir thing. It's just Carter here, man.
Just hanging out. Three boys hanging out talking music.
Okay.
No
How
sirs.
does someone get there? Like, let's have this real conversation. What does it genuinely take? And the people who are trying to do that, what do you typically see that they're missing, that they're not getting? Like, where can we start?
Sure. Well, I mean, I can tell you how I got here, and then I can tell you, because there isn't really one way. There is entrepreneurship involved as far as you got to be willing to hustle more than anything else. I mean, I know guys who are incredibly talented, very artistic, but they don't hustle and they don't make what they could. In my case, I mean, I spent from the time I was 18 until I was almost 30 playing tech death metal. And we got the band to the point...
Tech death metal?
Tech death metal,
Whoa.
yes.
What was that band called?
Starring Janet Leigh. We were...
Tech death metal.
Yeah, we ended up getting signed to a sub-label of Metal Blade. We did a bunch of touring across Canada and the U.S., and I was putting as much of my hustle into that. We never got that band to the point where it did more than pay its own bills, but still, that's better than most bands.
Paying your own bills
we didn't have
really
to pay
cool.
for our space. We didn't have to pay for our merch. Everything was covered. It was just that, well, we got to the age where it's like, well, we have wives and mortgages, and it just at the time we just decided, we'd done it for long enough, and we called it quits. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do musically after that, and I I got asked I was living in Streetsville at the time, and there was a bar there, like a rock and roll bar called Marcello's. And I got asked if I wanted to be one of 4 guys hosting an open mic. And I said, okay, it's across the street from me. I know some tunes. Why not? So I did that there, and the bar eventually closed down. And a friend of mine who was related to a bar down the street said, why don't you go talk to Todd and Karen at Cook Collins? I said, okay, I'll talk to them about it.
The owners of the other bar.
The owners of the Irish bar
got you.
that I have now been gigging at forever. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I went and talked to them about the idea, and they said, okay, let's give it a shot. And it was an anomaly. On a Tuesday, it did immediately well. The first night we did it, we had 96 people through the door on a Tuesday.
Wow.
It made no sense at all. And that was 2011. So, I mean, it's had its peaks and its valleys over the years, but one of the things that I like about it the most is because I'm reasonably organized, and I help to create an event where musicians could work on their performance chops, network, and develop a scene. I mean, there was a point in time where Mississauga had a really thriving music scene. I was lucky enough to be there for that. But there was a large stretch of time where we had no venues where original music could be. So these open mics gave it a home, or gave people a place to be able to mingle. For some reason, I ended up really good at that and was hosting at 1.3 of those a week.
Wow.
It was weird because I kind of fell into it, but I saw that there was value in it because it gave a music scene a place to go.
Well, it gives the opportunity for people to come out and play, right? Just express themselves and their musical ability, just be able to play for anyone.
There was people that wanted to come and just, they wanted to work on their performance. There were people that just wanted to come and jam because I bring a stupid amount of equipment, so you could actually just show up and play with my gear.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening is some really good bands formed out of it. And some of those bands are one of the bands that their first few times playing was at my open mics was No Big Deal, who's playing at the Juno celebrations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
So it really just can start in a bar on an open mic. Is the kind of a huge message here? Is like it can start
absolutely
right at an open mic.
In terms of how I ended up being able to solely do music, it was gradual. It wasn't one of those things like anybody I know who typically makes their living in the arts, unless they are just a full-time teacher. Because I do teach. I teach about 40 students a week.
Oh, wow.
And I gig 3 to 5 days a week. Now that is not all my own music. It's not. I do perform as much of my own music as I possibly can, but I do some cover gigs
Some
as
covers
well.
and stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
Everyone loves a classic song.
For me, it's worked out okay. I mean, it's one of those things that I always try to distinguish my original gigs from my other performances, and I do the best I can with that. But, as not a young man, I do have a partner and a mortgage, and, I've got to pay my bills like anybody else. Yeah. But I've been able to fund my own albums. I haven't had too much luck with grants, but still working on that.
Still working.
Yeah. And I'm able to make a good living just playing and teaching.
So this man is an anomaly. This is the I don't want to say the lottery of music, because it can be done, it can be replicated, but he teaches 40 students a week. So what's that, like on average 4 a day you're teaching?
I teach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I used to teach weekends, but I got sick and tired of late gigs Friday night and then teaching Saturday morning.
Again,
that's fair.
I teach private students on Mondays, I think 5 or 6. Tuesdays I teach 10. Wednesdays I teach at least 10.
Are you teaching
Thursdays
simultaneous or is it individual?
10. Individual lessons.
Yeah.
So it's back to back to back.
That's a huge time commitment then.
Well, I mean, students are anywhere from a half an hour to an hour. So I mean, it's not. It's. I mean, you add them all up, and it does add up.
But it's also equally rewarding in that sense, as you get to watch them grow.
Yeah, I've had some students of mine that are stellar players that just want to be professional players, and it's cool to watch that. And I've got some that are just, it's one of those things that it just makes them think, which is, equally valuable.
Very valuable.
Yeah.
So you said something, I'm not sure if the mics were on or not, but you said something like, I do the Irish thing, which is great because we're coming up on St. Pat's Day. You mentioned that the first one was an Irish bar that just took off. Like, you kind of seem to have luck in that area, but what you tap onto a niche. Did you know Irish right away? Are you Irish and you're like, I have to stay here?
Yeah,
or
my mom's side's all Irish.
Got you.
But it was one of those things that I really didn't have a connection to the music. I found it and fell in love with it. My favorite styles of music are typically jazz, metal, and folk and rhythm and blues. so like, I loves me the death metal.
Are you my Apple's shuffle here? It's just
kind of, yeah. I mean, my favorite singer is a jazz singer, but my favorite bands growing up were metal bands.
Right on.
But I always kind of did this sort of strummy acoustic folky thing in the background while I was running Starring Janet Leigh, just because I loved it. It's just I had no time. You can only do so many things. And when that band ended, I just happened to be playing a lot of acoustic guitar at the time, and all of these tunes just started flowing out of me, and they all happened to be in the vein of folk rock, rhythm and blues, that kind of thing. So I said I couldn't ignore that. So that's why I put out a solo record as a singer-songwriter in the first place, just because I had all this inspiration. It was probably all of my thoughts of doing this for 10 years, the band ending and saying, well, what do I do now?
It's time to come out. Yeah, it's time to expose
I got to
this.
express these feelings.
Yes. Which is such a good thing, too, though, because it's better than having repressed it and then never just kind of sitting on it in your own brain and never really exposing it to anybody. Because with the exposure, how many people have come to that music and loved it and heard what they heard, listened to you and loved what they've heard and continue to support you after that.
The response has been very positive, especially from the community in Peel region. Very, very positive.
So yeah, I'd love to think of that. If I would have sat on that, never released it, I would have never got to expose all those people to such a great, great artist. Yeah.
So I mean, now, like as far as me making a living from this, I make some from teaching, some from a little bit from SoCan.
Get that radio play.
Get that radio play.
and performance as well. I get a little bit from that. And then a variety of different types of gigs. I also do a lot of private performances, which is something that, I kind of fell into, ended up being really good at. So sometimes I'll get hired to do private parties or weddings, all kinds of different things. And it's one of those things that when I was younger, I would have never even considered doing any of those things.
So that's huge. Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed is that when I see the most quote unquote successful musician, the person who's actually making the living, there are a lot of skills that they had to gain that were not necessarily musical. Like networking, or like you said their name specifically, but the owners of the other bar, like you had the courage to go up and talk to them, right? Like, so what are some skills that you found that are actually not musical that have served you really well at specifically, or perhaps at like those those private gigs where it's like, maybe networking or talking?
I would say a combination of things. One is persistence. I mean, a lot of people are really willing to put in the time to work on their chops, but if nobody knows that you have them, like I am a decent guitar player. I'm definitely not the best player. And the same thing as a singer. I'm a decent singer, but I work hard at it to be the best that I can. But I'm very good at communicating, and that's something that took time to work at. So I know how to run a business decently. I've been able to make decent money just playing music on that basis. The other thing is a lot of the time there are people that have skills that they can do in music that they can do alongside their original project. Like the guy who's producing my album plays in a great band in Toronto, but he's also also records bands because he built that skill set. Mm-hmm. So
that's huge.
Yeah. Love that. Some guys I know, they can teach. They're really good teachers, and quite honestly, that's not something that's for everybody. It isn't. But if you're really good at your instrument and you can find something that you can do with that and solely just that one thing, that's actually rare. Most people in the music industry do 2 or 3 different things. Like a good friend of mine works with a songwriting collective in LA. And he's written songs for like Shakira and Chris Brown, and he also plays in a pretty reasonably big band. So, most guys who do this, they don't do just a single thing until they end up in that situation where it's like that one thing is really, paying off.
The one that ends up getting the $1 million return.
Yeah, or even not even just $1 million, because the majority of musicians you meet are guys that just make a decent living, but they're not. The ones you don't see are the guys that are backing up the stars. Those are the guys that are all colleagues of mine, like the guys that back up Shawn Mendes, the guy who played keys on my last record. Shawn Mendes is now his touring keyboardist.
Oh wow!
So and you probably don't know his name.
Nobody knows,
but he does just fine.
Yeah, and there's so many of those positions available where you don't necessarily think about the third violinist or you just don't.
No, people think about the guy who fronts the band. They don't think about everybody else who's in it. And sometimes those guys do just fine. There's guys that music direct. There's guys that perform with the band. There's the guys that record the band. There's a record label around here called Black Box. The guys who started that is the singer of a band called The Full Blast. He was booking his own band and putting out their own records, and said, "Why don't I turn this into a business?
Why don't I do this for others?"
Yeah.
Exactly. And you start to, what I've experienced is that once people start to get this momentum for themselves, they realize, holy crap, I'm actually really good at this part of the music industry. And it's not necessarily shredding guitar like Steve Vai, like I thought I would, you know what I mean? When I was a lot different, it was like, it's, holy moly, I can actually bring again this booking or this, you know.
You can discover other skill sets that you have.
Huge.
Like I said, I'm a decent player, but I'm a good communicator, and I can arrange things well. Like I did that because I didn't have somebody who could do it for me. When I was in a band when I was younger, nobody would book my tours. I had no choice. It was, okay, do it wrong until you do it right.
Huge.
And that's the persistence thing. You got to have grit, man.
failure.
Because I have
Fail until you
I have
succeed.
failed 10 times more than I have succeeded on anything. But I just didn't stop.
But that's the big thing too, is you never gave up. You always just got to keep trying until you hit that success.
Yeah, and you're going to find along the way there are things that you're good at. Like I found out that I was good at these things in the process of, okay, if I had only said, nope, just going to play guitar, not going to do anything else, I would have never sang. When I was in my 20s playing metal, I didn't sing in that band.
That wasn't your style of singing. That wasn't.
Well, I couldn't do it.
Me
doing metal vocals, I'd sound like a crying child.
Me too, my
But
man.
then you
Me
doing
too.
folk vocals sounds like a beautiful.
Yeah, like I
you
can
know?
sing the folk stuff and the R&B stuff reasonably well. And I had I not given that a shot, who knew?
Never would have known.
Exactly. Like even with teaching music. I mean, I taught a little bit when I was younger, and then when I was playing full time, like when I was touring in my 20s, I was fighting people's traffic tickets. That's what I used to do. I was a paralegal.
It's paralegal.
And I eventually just hung up that hat because I was doing enough with music that I didn't need to do it anymore.
I say the paralegal thing was just to help you get by at the time to help fund the music.
There is a long story with that, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's I was able to get to the point where I could just do music, so that's what I wanted to do, and
That's
I
what
can.
you want to do. And
Do it wrong until you do it right. I absolutely love that. I'm cutting this one off right here. We're going to our next music break. Catch us when we're back. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to DriveWire. We are here with Matt Zaddy. Zaddy, what are you up to in 2019? Like, you're booking gigs.
It's a busy year.
Yeah, I am going to be playing live as much as I possibly can. I have a new record that's coming out. I don't know. If everything goes to plan right now, single will be out at the end of April, and then the album will be out in June. I've applied to probably 100 festivals across the country this year, so let's see which ones I get on, and that will determine where I go in terms of my touring. Essentially, I'm putting in as much live time as I can. I'm going to make the biggest push I've ever done with an album. With this one.
Huge.
When we look at tour, we're talking cross Canada.
Canada, East and West. I'll
East
probably
and
do
West.
Ontario a few times. Sometimes solo, sometimes with the band.
Right on.
But it's going to be an exciting year. I really think this is the best record I've ever done for this genre. So I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's gonna be a lot
Talk
of fun.
about the inspirations. Where does it come from you emotionally? What's connected to it? What went into it? What does it sound
yeah,
like?
that's actually really easy for me to talk about. Musically, I find that it always ends up being somewhere between folk rock and rhythm and blues. Some songs are more folky, some songs are more rhythm and bluesy, and some very apparent influences do come out, and I don't think in a bad way. As far as the content of it, that's pretty easy. I mean, one of the things that I've really been trying to do for myself over the last few years is to basically be the best version of myself that I can. And most of the songs are lessons that I learned along the way for that.
So would you just keep trying to get better right off of
in terms of how I am with the
off?
people in my life, in terms of how I commit to what I do. Like I'm a reasonably disciplined guy, but I'm always trying to be better than I am. With how I am with my partner, how I am with my friends, how I am with my music, and how I am with my dedication to my craft.
And it's been such a rewarding.
What were some of the lessons? You said each of the songs was kind of a lesson.
Sure, I can just go. I can just pick a song and go for it.
Song 5.
Song 5. Let's go with A Dear Friend, just because you mentioned it.
Yeah, it sounds good.
When I was writing the song, what I was thinking about was I was remembering that when I was younger playing music, my core group of friends were guys I was in a band with. And they are still my best friends. They're family. We went through a lot of rough and tumble together. We went through ups and downs, and I don't see them nearly as much as I did then. And there's been a few times where it hits you. It's like, wow, the people in my life that I care about, I see less than half a dozen times a year, and that's tough. It's one of those things that as a guy in my 30s, life gets busy. You've got work, you've got family obligations, you've got things you got to do. And that song to me was my own reminder and affirmation to make time for the people that I care about.
Huge.
That's deep.
Huge. That is so crazy deep. I imagine the other songs have ridiculous value like that too. That's really
Every
cool.
single song
really
there
cool.
has a very specific story behind it. All of them.
Yeah,
some of them
that a lot.
might be about a specific circumstance. Some of them might have to do with just I guess general things in my life that we've all got our scars along the way that made us into who we are, and I hope that what I say on there can positively impact somebody else.
Be relatable and help people.
Most of them are. I'm not a general downer of a guy. Most of the songs in there are pretty positive. It's just it's life, man.
How do I get a hold of it?
It'll be on all digital platforms. I'm also doing a pressing of CDs for those of you who still use
Oh
those.
man, you're in the CD game.
There are a lot of places that still want CDs,
Really?
particularly radio stations.
stations,
They
yeah.
all still want, like a lot of the college stations still want physical copies.
We
So
want
I'd have to press
physical
them for that
discs.
anyway.
No doubt.
I have had requests to do a vinyl pressing, so I'm going to be doing that as well.
Nice.
Um,
Vinyl's making a comeback.
Vinyl outsells CDs right now.
It
But
actually
as a
is
guy,
making a huge
this
comeback,
actually was
yeah.
a cool thing that happened to me. I sold out of my first pressing of CDs for my last record.
My man.
I had to go press
Fantastic.
more because I sold out of them. I had
Good
I had
job.
to, and that's the best problem you can
So
have.
yes,
the
let's
best.
talk about that. So what changed? What was it? The quality of music that you put out? Was it the way that you pushed it? Was it the people you talked to? Like, how does somebody who has a good quality album sell it? Where do you go? What do you do? Who do you talk to?
You can do it individually, hand to hand, and show by show, or you can find a way to create attention for it online. There's no right or wrong way with it. A lot of it really depends on your goals.
Huge.
I have built a very deep personal connection with the music community in Ontario, and I've sold a lot more hand to hand than I have plays online. I'm hoping to change that with my next record and really build a greater online following. It's that building that relationship has made it sustainable for me, because pretty much everybody I know who's come to a show to see me, I made it a point to make it personal. That's how I work. I mean, the music is personal to me. The people that appreciate it are personal. Like,
So it's
I know,
all
like a lot of these like
personal factor.
marketing gurus online for music talk about super fans. Most of the people that like my music really like it. They're not the greatest in number, but they care about it.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that matters with the people who are actually listening to the music. It's not just listening to the music because society's told me to or whatever. I'm listening to it because I genuinely appreciate the artist's message, and the care that you put into it yourself.
Yeah, like
the amount of do you put into
like
it.
I grew up a music lover. Like when I was in my 20s, I was going to shows 5 days a week. And it could be in Hamilton, London, Toronto, Brampton,
Anywhere.
Mississauga, Oakville, Burlington, Barrie. I would go because I cared. And there are people that still care, but you have to find that audience. And it's one of those things that if you have something that if you keep putting out quality product and quality tunes, you will find your audience. And you may find it online first before you find it in person. In my case, I found it in person before I found it online. That's just how it was for me.
That'll
You
be a
do
big
both.
helper.
That's like you have to. I mean, it's one of those things that the great thing about the digital age is you can reach everyone. But everybody is trying to reach everybody.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes very difficult online to make that personal.
There's so much noise.
There is
to peek through it is impossible.
Exactly.
Almost.
Like
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, a lot of friends of mine that have had things take off online was through doing a cool cover video. I've done a few. None of them have really taken off, but they did create interest.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine. She's a fiddler friend of mine, and she has 75,000 followers on YouTube, and her video, she's got 5+ million plays.
Is that Lindsay?
No, her name's Bridget O'Regan.
Got you. Okay. Bridget.
And she had a cool stick. And it was funny because her and I were talking about this because you never know what videos are going to go viral. It's a
It
crapshoot.
just happens.
She said to me, she's like, I've had some videos I put so much time into and they got 1,000 views. And then some random video of her playing in a mall got 1 million views.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like her thing right now is she's a fiddler and she does some composition that she's releasing, but she also does cosplay. So she's dressed up as a Legend of Zelda character at Comic-Con. Video gets 2 million views.
This like creating the uniqueness. So I've seen this over and over where it's like this factor of how weird can it get, the extra like her dressing up and then playing in the mall, even with crappy video quality, honestly, or grainy quality, or a little gross sound, or like, you know, you hear someone sneezing in the background as they walk by, or the hustle and the bustle and the wind, like, and all of a sudden it takes off because she's in a freaking Zelda costume.
Yeah,
and it happens, and it's real.
And then there are guys that are just really good players that put videos of them sitting in a room just shredding away,
playing.
or just like, I'm a big fan of a guitar player named Matteo Assato. This guy's got hundreds of I don't even know how many video views he has, and he's just a really, really great player. I'm a big fan of some of the kind of new school proggy metal shredder guitar players like Tosin Abasi from Animals as leaders.
Huge.
And it's one of those things that sometimes it's just your raw talent which will get it to you, and sometimes it's not. So I say try different things. You got to experiment, because you're going to find your niche that your fans will gravitate towards.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Quick little question about that, actually, because there is actually a drummer that I discovered on YouTube probably over a decade ago. His name was started with a C. It was something to do with. Now I feel like an idiot because it was just on the top of my mind.
Don't worry, it happens
I had
to me.
the name, and then I started talking about it, and the name went out the window. It was faster.
Yeah,
but he was just a drummer who just did one drum cover of, I think it was like one of those Through the Fire and the Flames or something. It's just a challenging song, but he just did one cover of an overhead shot, and it got popular. It got like 10 million views, and now it's got 100 million views. And now this guy had a whole music career that he was able to get off of just that one drum cover that ended up getting him the traction and the attention. And it really is, I feel like it could just be it's all just almost a random factor as well.
Most people I know that have had success on YouTube don't have one video; they have 100.
No, he has thousands of them. Yeah,
like
no.
it's
Kobus,
one of those things.
That's his name, Kobus.
Okay.
But yeah,
a lot of the time,
a lot of videos.
Most people I know is they put dedicated time into creating content. The same way that you would create songs, people put dedicated time into creating videos. Now that could be just literally. I've seen these things where it's just some guy sitting in his room with a single mic in the room that just puts it out, but he'll put out a video every 2 weeks or every month, and it's one of those things that cumulatively things can add up.
Or the ones that do it every day.
Like I've never been that guy that ever had anything that went from here to here, but I've had this for 10 years.
So, and just so for the listeners, what he's doing is he's like climbing like a ladder, one side over the other.
Oh yeah, right.
And,
this
and
is
the
radio.
value-
We're looking
the
at each
value-
other. They're not looking at
the
us.
value, what this, I really want that to land, because the chances that you get a lottery shot win off one video are almost zero.
Yeah, they're small.
You
They're
will not win off
infinitesimally
one.
small.
And so when you don't win, do exactly what Zaddy suggested and one up, and do it wrong until you do it right, and try and be the best version of yourself at the same time, and just put out another freaking video.
Should never be discouraged by failure.
Because when you get better, take down the old one if you really have to, or leave it up and be proud of where you came from. Like,
say look at it as a reference
like
point.
in 100 episodes from now, we will look back on these and be like, damn.
I look at it as learn from your mistakes, because you will make the right decisions by making the wrong ones first.
That's
Most
huge.
people are that way. Like all the things that I've learned as far as being a good player, as far as being good at actually marketing myself, reasonably good, I'll say. Because like I said, I'm not the biggest artist out there, but I have a sustainable career.
And you're
it was
excellently
a
busy
little step,
too.
a little
It's
step,
really
a little
good.
step.
Yeah.
Like I play a lot. Like I play 200 plus shows a year, every year.
So talk
And we're
about
gonna be
what are
seen
some
on
of
the
those
festival
smaller
lineups this
steps.
year.
Go ahead, sorry.
I hopefully just do see you on the festival list. By the
So
way, I
do
want
I.
to jump in. Yeah, I can
I have a few that I'm negotiating with right now, so I know a few that I will be on.
I can tell you're excited for them. I
I'm
can see
just-
that in
honestly,
your energy.
man, I had a rehearsal with my guys the other day, and we were running through the new record, and it was the greatest feeling to think, wow, this could really, I really believe in these tunes.
Cool.
I really do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear that.
It's gonna be a good year, man.
I'm really
It's gonna be a
stoked.
good
I
year.
want to learn a couple of those lessons from it as well. That's really awesome. I appreciate you telling us that.
Yeah, well, when I release any of these songs, I'm going to actually put down, like one of the things I try to do is if I'm putting out an original song, I will explain, whether it's on YouTube or in a blog or something, saying this is exactly what was going through my head and why, and you can take from it what you will.
That's so cool.
That's giving like viewers, not even viewers, but listeners as well, the opportunity to kind of connect with you on how you.
Yeah, that's the
connect.
thing.
It's
Like it's
level.
personal. Like this,
Yeah.
every single one of these songs is personal to me. There's a reason why I created
it.
that.
Yeah.
And that's scary almost, right? Like that's one of the things about being an artist that I have the most amount of respect for is like when you finally go out of your way and put it all on the line 100%, it's like the proverbial leap of faith. It's like, all right, this is who I am. This is the absolute best of what I can do. Take it or leave it. You know, when you finally do that, Man, that seems to be when typically everything starts to tip in your direction. So if you've hit it like you say you have, I'm excited for you.
Like I said, I mean, I've never had a big jump in terms of increase of fan base or anything like that. It was always little steps along the way that built into something. But like I said, it worked. So here I am. Hey,
That's
bud.
really cool. Love it. I love the same thing too. Like I've been putting out a couple of videos just here and there, and it's nothing crazy. It's not insane. It's just little jams. Like when I make a jam on my loop pedal or whatever, and I'm proud of it. Okay, let's put it out. And what's interesting is, without growing a fan base, I wouldn't say that I have any fans. But what I have had is people who have listened to it, who maybe are interested in someone with that same vibe, who have then asked me to partner coming up in this, like on their record, so I can be their background keyboardist, although I play guitar for them. I don't want any of the credit, but what putting my sound out there did was allow someone to hear it and say, I am looking for that, and be able to contact me, which is huge.
I've actually gotten work out of that. Like I've helped. I do co-writing with some people. I have a couple of friends of mine where I was asked to play their lead or rhythm guitar on their records, about doing backup vocals. I have a couple guys that are producers that have me come in to do vocals on other people's records, and it was cool. It was one of those things that someone heard my work and they said, I would love for you to sing on my album.
Yeah, I want this guy on my piece.
That's such a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Hell yeah, I'm in.
I mean, it's and you go in there, you do the best job you can, and you put your best foot forward, man. That's it. And then you don't give up if suddenly things go wrong sometimes. That's how it is.
That's how it is.
And most people I know that were successful at anything in this, it wasn't their first or their second or their third attempt. It was like their 20th or 30th or 100th
or 1,000th. Yeah, so there's this there's a particular award that's almost like a slap in the face that comes out on a lot of awards. I don't remember
Razzies?
who it was.
The Razzies?
No. It's actually it's a real award, and
okay.
it's best new artist. And they give it out, and then so Zaddy just did quotes. It's like the person
quote unquote new artist.
The person who accepted said something like, I really wish I could remember the artist. She said, thank you. We've been working 10 years for this. Like,
everybody I know that's ever won a new artist award was never a new artist. They were just new to the mainstream.
Yeah, they've been around. I mean, like, well, even like a very old example is the Beatles. Like they were huge in the bars before they came over, and they were seriously practiced and they were seriously ready to have their fame, instead of people thinking they were brand new at the time. It's like no.
Yeah, they spent a few years in Germany just hacking away, getting better.
Oh, like it's like a decade or something. It's crazy just being in the bars and doing their thing. So
I actually remember an award ceremony when Jamiroquai first got popular in North America. They gave him the best. It was at the Grammys, the Best New Artist Award. He's like, this is great. I'm not really new, but I guess I'm new to you. Thanks, guys. And then I found out, I was like, oh, he was popular in the UK for like 10 years.
Yeah. But that's cool. It's still a good award, you know what I mean? It's
still
nice.
exposure.
It's good to get.
If someone wants to give you an award, take it.
You take it.
Take it. Yeah.
But the new thing, it's like I just want to crush it in people's mind that they're not actually new. They've been killing it for a long time.
Yeah. You know that meme where you see it's like an iceberg and you only ever see that little bit of the top, and you don't see all the struggle and failure underneath and all the garbage you had to go through to get there. I don't know anybody who didn't have to work hard at it. Very few people. I mean, there might be the anomaly, but very few people ever just happened onto it. Most people had to work really hard and work really smart.
Yeah,
but that's a goal that we've been told our lives too, right? You've got to work hard and work smart to get what you want out of life. You want to get the gold medal at the end of it. You got to work hard, work smart.
And the big thing is learn from your failures. I mean, you don't want to do the same thing 1,000 times and expect a different result. You can approach something differently. Learn from people around you. One thing that I found was a great asset for me was collaboration, working with other artists. Get an outside opinion. Don't think that you need to do absolutely everything yourself, because you will run out of time, energy, and you are more likely to fail if you try to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you expand? Let's talk about that. So you said you're more likely to fail if you do everything yourself. So it seems like the next sentence is, so then get a team. Is that where you're going with that?
I put a team together to help me with my new record.
So let's talk about this. You first and foremost, when you're building a team, what do you look for? Like, I think it may come back to like knowing yourself. Like, what are you good at? You know what I mean? If I'm Carter and I'm good at guitars and nothing else, then maybe I should hire a team for everything else.
I didn't play drums on my record for a reason. Not a drummer. I can air drum like a boss, but that's where it ends.
That's
like
awesome.
a boss.
Yeah. So how do you go about finding the people in your team, as far as the management, as far as the other things that you needed help with? How do you check them to make sure they're quality, that you're hiring a quality team?
Some of it will be trial and error. Some of it will be on reputation. And some people will only work with you when you get to a specific level. Like I have people I would love to work with that won't even give me the time of day right now. But other people who wouldn't give me the time of day 2 years ago, I now work with regularly. Like I said, it's like this. It's little
steps.
I'm doing the little step thing again.
Yeah.
Baby steps. But network in your local music scene, that's a great place to start. That's how I met you guys. Right? I mean, that's how I think I've met everybody here is somehow with some connection through the local music scene.
Seriously.
So, network people there. If you're looking for people, ask. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you right where you were before you asked.
Yep.
Seriously.
And you will find people that will be great to work with along the way and people that won't be. Like, people are always like, oh, I need a management, I need booking agent. I'm like, those people are not going to give you the time of day until you're out there trying to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's just how it works.
And just hiring those people just because you think you need those people aren't going to bring you the success that you think
if
it
you
does
have
just because
like
you have 'em.
amazing songs and you have a lot of money to throw around, you can probably buy your way into some things, but not most things. Most things you got to work for.
You got to work for it, and that's really the
Like
message at the end of the day.
if you're looking for players, look in your local music community. Look in places where people play. Meet people there, develop relationships. If you're looking for booking and management, do your homework. It's the same thing. You can contact them and they can say no. And then you can follow up with in 6 months and say, this is what I've done.
Yeah, let's try it
And
again.
they could still say no. But they might not say no 2 years from then. I'm not playing the same festivals I am now that I was 5 years ago. I'm not playing the same. I'm not playing all of the same venues. I'm still playing some of them.
Some of them.
But I've been able to expand, and a lot of that was time, effort, and building relationships.
The relationships thing is huge because one of the big things that I started getting over the past couple of years, going back to Fanshawe just to kind of get another program, is I started associating more with the I guess I should say the MTP students, the media theory production students, where they are all music. 24 hours a day. They roll in the tightest of cliques. They're all so friendly. They all support each other so much. It's so supportive to see such a clique of people that all support each other and work with each other. And I've seen how many bands where there's 2 guys from this one, a girl from this one, and 2 other girls from this one, or they're all working together. And 7 different bands. Now we have one super group, and just to see the support and
that's what you call a music scene. A lot of the time, there are people who are in multiple bands. A good example from right around here is some of the guys that are in No Big Deal are also some of the guys in Lawless Sons. Both awesome bands. There is some member crossover, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. In their case, it worked out great. And then you're like I said, you're gonna find that sometimes the band that you think 3 bands ago was something very different. They tried this lineup, it didn't work. They tried this, it didn't work. They tried this, something went right.
Very different, and it's working,
I was going to say, No Big Deal was not always called No Big Deal. It's one of those things that you evolve while you're working to create something.
While you grow.
Your music grows, you grow as a person, your skills develop. But you got to put in the time.
And that's the biggest message, I think, to take away.
This is a time-spent exercise for most people. Very few people, it's just like, wham!
Can't just expect.
It doesn't work that way. I mean, let me ask you: has anybody in this room had something that just miraculously took off? Awesome, good for you, because not me. But like I said, you build your skill sets, you develop relationships with people, and you be persistent. You need grit, man.
Got a question for you. One of the things that I've heard so many times over and over and over again is like, right about when the people quit, one more step. And that's when you succeed. So have you ever noticed that in your own life where you took that extra step and you're like, damn, if I didn't take that one step, there would be completely different places that I'm headed to in that.
I nearly ended my playing of music twice.
What? Wow. Okay, give me the first one.
First time.
A couple of very difficult tours, which
How old
were
were you?
amazing.
Do you mind me
fun.
asking?
I was in my late 20s.
Late 20s. Okay.
Yeah. And I had a couple of moments where I was like, I'm done with music. When I ended starring Janet Leigh, I didn't know if I was going to be what I was going to do. I did not plan on where I am right now, but I found something that I was good at, and I tried. My original plan when I ended that band was to put out a solo metal record and just hire guys to play on it, do like an Animals as Leaders kind of thing or something like that. And I was just writing a lot of acoustic tunes at the time, and when I would play them, I got a response that I couldn't ignore, and I couldn't ignore how I felt about them. But I almost hung up my head a couple of times. Yeah.
Through times when it sounds like when you were making like a genre switch or those major changes.
When I was playing metal more, now I more teach metal than play it.
Right.
But I had some difficult times. We had some times where it was like we felt like we were, we're trying and we're not getting anywhere. We're trying and we're not getting anywhere. We're trying and we're not getting anywhere. And I almost hung up the hat a couple of times.
So someone in that position, what would you tell them?
It's one of those things that sometimes you do need to reevaluate what you're doing and decide if this is the right way, and do not be afraid to try something new.
Huge.
Like don't be afraid to venture out of your comfort zone, essentially, right? Because your comfort zone is designed.
Like I said, I wasn't singing through my 20s except the odd open mic that was in my neighborhood. I was the songwriter and the guy that ran the band, but I didn't do vocals in that band. I didn't really do full time as a vocalist until I was in my 30s. Now most of the work I get is because I'm a singer first and a guitarist second. Yeah. Well, I thank you. I'll take your word on that. I think I'm okay.
We all self-criticize ourselves.
Work in
so
progress.
Much.
I've heard
work
you,
in
and you
progress.
got some solid tone, man.
He's
You
got
definitely,
good tone,
yeah,
man.
you sound good. I've heard Zaddy more than one time, and let me put it like this. I don't walk outside for fresh air when Zaddy comes on at the mics. Like, let's just put it like that.
Next time I see you in a room where I'm singing, I'm just going to stare in your eyes. Like I'm doing right now.
Make sure.
Yeah. Eye contact, man. Eye contact.
That's awesome,
Are you
man.
breathing? Because you're still in the room.
Listen, Zaddy, it was a lot of fun having you here. I think you put a lot of good value in for this. Check it out on DriveWire. We're going to have it on YouTube, maybe on Insta. I'm staring at the people who are setting that up. Instagram, maybe Snapchat. We are going to have some Twitter. We're going to have some unique content from my man Matt Zaddy. He's going to perform live for us here at the CFRE radio station. What is up? This was episode 3. There was a lot of crazy stuff in here. Catch us after this next song break, and we'll come right back.
Welcome back to DriveWire Radio. It's Crawford. We are getting ready to end things here. Niffin, anything else to ask? Anything else from Zaddy that we're looking for here?
Sure, yeah. If you guys want to find me online, if you search Matt Zaddy, that's Zaddy. This is a weird thing to say, but it makes sense. It's Zaddy like daddy, but with a Z.
With a Z, daddy
Womp,
with a Z.
womp. If you search that on any social, you'll find me. I always have my dates posted. It's a weird mix of music, cats, and food all the time.
3 of the most popular things on the internet.
3 of the most popular things in my household. Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, I've got lots of performances coming up. There's going to be all kinds of new music coming out. I'm really looking forward to sharing some new tunes with you guys. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, I'm really stoked for that. Zaddy, thank you so much for being here. I just want to recap a little bit of what this man said. Starting off, he said, listen, there's a lot more entrepreneurship than most people understand, and I think that's huge. He talked about hustle. I didn't get you to actually define it, Matt, but we got a pretty good idea as we went through it. We talked about doing the wrong thing until you do it right. Like, that's so huge thing. If something's worth doing well, something's worth doing not well up front. Like, you're just not going to be good at starts. But start, because you will get better. And also something really interesting right along the same lines is be the best version of yourself at all times. Like Zaddy said that about himself. He said, look, that's what I'm trying to do. So when I show up and I play on a record, I'm trying to crush it. I'm trying to show them like, look, this guy has skills so that even if I'm only 10% better than they thought I was, they want to have me back because I showed up. Like that's how this guy is, and he's pushing all the time. He's getting himself super busy. He has 40 students weekly, has 3 to 5 gigs a week. He's trying to book 20 shows by like in 2 weeks, literally more than a show a day. He's crushing it. He's got the Irish thing. He found a niche. Like these are all huge things that you can do with your music that like, even if you're good music and you're not doing, you're missing more than 50% of the upside, maybe even more than that, because opportunities will come out of it that you can gain by being an entrepreneur, meeting someone, shaking their hands, going to the Junos, meeting the people at the shows that you're already looking to find to help you on your way. This was DriveWire. This was Matt Zaddy. This was Carter. This was Crawford. Thank you for joining us. Catch us next time.